TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. Support is for the 26th. Well, and we've seen with this declining DOC towards a full reset here. We've also had Power Motu crossing below into the negative territory, and of course negative shakeout, and it's resulted in, well, price actually holding up fairly decent despite it, albeit just back and forth. And in fact, again, we're right back down to the ABM Magenta. And again, that 50% becomes that critical threshold, because I believe a test there could be problematic and create a more exacerbated move. As you can see within the decline, we're getting that separation here of the magenta and green. And what I look at is when that number reaches a plus 10 ratio. So right now it's almost 5 points plus the 3. So it's 8 points. So it's getting close to being that extensive breakout kind of range move, and from a daily, that's significant to see. So NASDAQ already testing that 50%, and in a bit of a discrepancy to what's going on in the S&P, and so that's where you would look for the support and encouragement, because the reality is if the S&P is just going to be a little bit softer than what has been leading, which is the NASDAQ, and so we'll just keep an eye on both, but of course it gives us an indication that things are not in alignment with the markets when they're trading at odds like that. And so that creates more volatility. From a Euro standpoint, again, the same arguments apply that have been going on for months, and this is about central banks doing their best to keep situations, though here in Italy and all of the EU, they're starting lockdown procedures again. We had our start later on Monday. They are closing all bars, restaurants, everything at 6 o'clock in the evening. So somehow the virus only operates after 6 p.m. and they're also reducing schools to a couple of days online and a couple of days attendance. Some bizarre constructs. They aren't really seeing overwhelmed hospitals or anything like that. They're just reporting lots of testing and lots of cases. So you got one of two things happening. One, the tests are wrong, or two, people are getting it but not having a problem. Either way, they're ignoring all of that and basically just shutting their economies down. And from a gold standpoint, that's going to be a negative because that's de-inflationary, and that's going to be problematic from that standpoint. Intraday was quite productive because we ended up with our positive realms. We started our breakdowns, and those persisted. And then when we got into this middle range, we were in a no DOC spread reset here. So we had the short signal come through, tried to rebound, but it was doing so without steel support. And so what we look for in that particular case is a dip below cyan and back above for the renewed buy configuration. And literally get that briefly right here, and then it turns around and goes the opposite way. And that led to new lows that came down and across, and as part of the adjustments that I'm working with on adjusting that PNT2 to reflect that decent going all the way along until right about here where we break down again with this steel dipping back below and the orange popping up, and that led to these lows, which we then started to build even within that same, and then we got close to the spread relationship right here just as we were turning around off of P2. Even these P2s, they still produced decent up moves. They just weren't able to hold on, as you can see, because every time they started, they broke down with that inevitable steel construct with the orange moving above, steel dips below the cyan, and you've got already green below red, and particularly in a negative shakeout. I always look at it a little different when you get to a positive shakeout realm, because at that particular point the bias flips towards the upside, and that's exactly what we got once we did get to positive shakeout turnaround, and it maintained that way all the way through till the end of the day. Beautiful DOC spread. Was holding above the magenta like that, but then literally as soon as futures opened slightly down, because we did have some positive extremes that had to get filled. That was like all the way right there. We literally opened up just a fraction below that 48 number at 45, 75, so almost 46, so just below the fill of the positive extreme, and then that was it for it. I mean, everything has stayed pretty much lower from there, and get some nice attempted building on the P2 configuration here, but again, this is a no steel reset config, and again, that's going to require the orange dips and pulls around, so still generally weak at this particular stage. So that's the current state of things right now, and we will certainly follow it through the day. As always, trade well. We'll talk to you later.